I know you're out there.
You're tuning into the White Robot Podcast with your host, Julian Smith. White Robot is not another filter. It's the quiet rebellion for those who refuse to be optimized out of existence.
Building these apps using stateless data architecture, when it why not build everything? This is like the code of nature.
In a world racing to replace people with code, we decode the future so you can thrive in it. We use technology as the antidote, not the assassin. And now here's your host, Julian Smith.
White Robot. White. White Robot.
Here quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the White Robot Podcast. And I am joined with somebody very special to me. I've known Jo McKee for coming on, I guess, close to a decade now. Jo McKee is the owner and founder of McKee Creative. It's an agency that connects clients with their customers. Clients love to work with Jo because her approach is all-inclusive. It's paid social campaigns, Google and YouTube campaigns. Plus, she looks after email marketing, content creation, and SEO. She has over 80 marketing agencies who have engaged Jo to consult on strategy and communications. And her work has contributed to a number of seven-figure marketing campaigns. And Jo has also been a mentor in the Queensland government's Mentor for Growth program since 2020. And when I met Jo about 8 years ago, I immediately sort of recognized her as a talent. She's a very, very talented copywriter before the days when you could go and just get AI to do something well for you. Jo was good at that. In fact, I think you've ghostwritten some books. We won't say what those are. We won't say who you did it for because that was ghostwriting. But she's a very, very savvy marketer, and so I always enjoy talking shop with Jo. And in fact, I had a YouTube channel and show podcast years ago, and I asked Jo to come on, but Jo was just too shy. And then about a year ago or so, you started your own show, and nicely invited me on as a guest. And can I tell the audience what I said? What I thought, because I thought it was wonderful. Do you remember what I said? I said, oh my gosh, this is like the Agent of Grace in an Ingmar Bergman movie, finding her voice. And Jo then came back to me and said, well, I had to go and look all that up, and what was who was what was the Agent of Grace and so on. But she really is. She's a wonderful person. So Jo, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Welcome. How you been?
I've been good. It's always good to say hi to you, Julian. And I think we need to do a meetup from Australia or Canada at some point. But anyway,
that would be fun.
In the meantime,
that would be
fun.
We are. Actually, that would be, if we could find some cool middle place and do a little retreat summit, pull in some other experts. We could we could do something fun. Actually, I bet.
Actually.
No.
Get away from our desk. That'd be the big deal. Yes.
Yeah. And you like me, you're never sort of satisfied. You're always kind of like, what's happening in the industry, what's changed. AI's come along, and you certainly went for, okay, I'm going to adapt, I'm going to modify, I'm going to use this. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the stuff that you've been doing with AI? What are some of the shifts that you've seen in the marketing industry at large?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I remember going back a couple of years, I was listening to some guys online, the Moonshots podcast guys, and they were joking about their private bets they had on who would have the first one-person unicorn company with AI, and it seemed far-fetched at the time. And then it was forced by necessity, probably going back, gosh, I can't remember if it's 18 months now or a bit longer. I had a couple of clients where we built their systems well and essentially trained their team, and they took them in-house, but it was quite a hit to our bottom line. And I just was in a period, I guess, where I wasn't really wanting to be visible very much, and I was my worst enemy about bringing on new clients, and so I had to let my staff go. I loved them. They were fantastic, and it was a bit scary. But I did console myself with thinking, okay, well, if AI is supposed to be this good, maybe I can use it to manage the workload that I was going to have to suddenly take on all by myself. And it was back when we had ChatGPT started with their folders section, their projects. So you could put some instructions in that it would remember something about the topic, and that made it quicker than reprompting all the time. So I got a long way with that. I started to train it in the voice of each brand that I was working on and my own brand. And using, the thing is, it's a system. It's just a tool like a hammer, but it's having to train it in a way where it knows the nuances of how you work and the quality, it's the garbage in, garbage out, I suppose. So it gave me time to do that, and certainly shocked myself that I was doing the work of 3 full-time people with time to spare, more time than I had before, actually. So that was pretty interesting. Then in January this year, I heard all the excitement on X about, they called it Clawbot originally, I think, or Claudebot,
Right.
and then Anthropic reached out and said, could you change the name? And it went through a bunch of iterations, and there was quite a flurry of when Peter Steinberger realized how to give these language models hands, essentially, or the ability to do things.
Yeah.
So it's quite a simple thing he cobbled together, and had trouble getting his friends to believe it till he put it in a Slack channel to show them. So I started with the OpenClaw model, and I went nuts and tried to automate everything in my business partly out of fear. I'm 55. If I don't stay ahead of the market, I'm going to become I feel like I'll be chucked on the dung heap pretty quickly. So there's certainly that motivation to stay ahead of the industry, to be relevant for our clients and to know what's happening. But I love it too. I absolutely love it. The problem with the OpenClaw was that I was spending half my time fixing it. It was lovely, had my little agent in Telegram I'd chat to and be out in the garden building projects, but it just kept breaking. And then I discovered an agent. And I spent $1,000 in API costs on one project, and I worked out about $600 of that was fixing things. So it wasn't even producing work.
Right.
And I got a bit mad. I went, no, I can't keep wasting that sort of money.
Yeah.
And then embarrassingly, I discovered Windows scheduled tasks, because I thought, how does this thing work anyway? Doing things on schedules.
Right.
So in the interim, I'm getting a little bit technical, but I want to do it because I want people, if they're not sure, to see what's possible, cheap. So then I got a $20 Claude subscription, downloaded Claude Code, which terrified me because I'm not a coder. I had tried the virtual machines because of safety. You can't let them move into your house. And then I went, fuck it. We're going to move in together. So I just moved Claude Code into my machine, and I said, look, I know that third-party policies with Anthropic, you can't put OpenClaw or whatever, but I can't afford to do that. What can we do? How did they do it? And it happened to mention Windows scheduled tasks. So I furiously got it to build a bridge to my Telegram so I could still send it things from X as I found it. And it could, and we started running a whole bunch of tasks. It was great. Then I discovered Andre Karpathy, who helped found OpenAI, talked about using a thing called Obsidian, which is just a free open source thing like Notion. And I'd always liked Notion, but I didn't want to pay for it. And I was in Google Drive and all this thing. Anyway, so Obsidian, you download it, and it's markdown files which the agents like. And also another thing called Paperclip, which is free. And so I downloaded that when I saw what some people were doing with it. So now I've got this system running. I've actually I got a lot done on my $20 subscription with Anthropic. I went a long way. But then, of course, you want to build projects, and you start hammering this thing, and you're running out of subscriptions, and you up your subscription. And then, to be honest, I've always wanted to go, this is my ethical thing, but I've always wanted to be able to move to Grok when I could. Not that that whole ecosystem is perfect either, but because the mission of it is supposed to be maximally truth-seeking, and I can always get on board with that.
Yeah.
And I don't really like the dramas of the fear-mongering that's been going on with Anthropic. So that's the political side. So anyway, I've wanted to move to Grok, but it wasn't good enough. It just kept not producing the output I needed, and Claude was just winning on content. I have, you put the brand of each one in. It was writing content that would have one client in tears, and he's an artist. And it was just so lovely for his brand that he just said, oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I said, I didn't write this, but it was prompted to suit him.
Right. Right.
So anyway, about 10 days ago, I did move everything to Grok, and so it's running with, I'm still running this like 89 scheduled tasks on cron jobs. I understand it's on my server. If I go away, there's a power outage. I need to have workarounds for the essentials, which I have in the cloud. You build all that out, you work it out. Fleet of quite a few agents now. Happy to show you what's happening.
I would love for you to share your screen and share what you're willing to share.
Now I've done the monologue, show you what I'm doing.
This is a real, this is a real cool, I think, opportunity, because exactly that there's so much, my gosh, from what you just said that I would love to come back to. But, one thing that I've observed a lot lately is, there's just so much happening. It's happening so fast. There are so many ways to skin the cat. And every single conversation I have with anybody working in this industry, like, oh, well, I use this and that, and I connected it to this. And sometimes you've heard of it, and sometimes you haven't. I certainly can't keep up with every single thing. I've heard of Paperclip. I've heard of Obsidian. I'm not using those at the moment myself. But I know people are doing all sorts of things like that, and I personally quite like the fact that when you say, oh, I'm not a coder, but you kind of just jumped in, and then one thing led to another, and you make a discovery of this. I think it's really interesting that you're doing Grok too, because I've been curious about that one. I'm kind of like you, which is that if there's a comparable less expensive way to do something, then I'm for that, right? So who isn't for saving money? So I agree with you about the whole Claude issue, and how exactly, like, I would agree that I'm more supportive of the Grok mission, and a little more trusting of Grok. I think Elon Musk did sort of accurately point out that Anthropic is oddly misanthropic, and OpenAI is oddly closed, and ultimately maximally truth-seeking platform is certainly one that I can get a little more on board with. But I have to admit, I've had the similar experience as you, which is that certainly when it comes to code, like raw programming, Claude's pretty good. You get the best bang for your buck, and at the end of the day, that's where
you've got to do what you've got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
I think the core principle for me is people are building in ways where they're getting tied into one platform, and I think that is doing yourself a disservice as a business. I heard of a business owner this week. She said she had a grant in Adelaide, so South Australia, for a government coaching program for AI. And she was shocked because she was up here on holidays, and we sat down and I showed her what I'm doing. She said, oh my goodness. She said, all they're teaching me to do is open Claude and fill in project folders on the Claude co-work. I said, well, that will get you a long way, and it's very good in the quality of output. And yes, but you are tied then to Anthropic quite strongly, because everything you're building is in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
And with the costs of things changing, the local models getting better and better all the time, which I think are really important to learn about as backup. If anyone's listening and you don't understand what local AI is, please start finding out what's possible, because we're literally seeing intelligence. At the moment, it's just predictive. I understand that, and it's well fed. So it's got a good ability to go and retrieve information and predict what it should do next. But the level of what it can do is too powerful to have somebody tie you into their moat. I think as your business, you should be able to be independent, which is what I like what you've built with Studio J. It stops people being tied to subscriptions. Yeah. They own their own software. They can modify it to suit themselves. It's wonderful. So that principle is my guiding principle, is, I need to be in charge of my little empire.
Yeah,
as much as I can.
good for you. I know we're so aligned on these things. Yeah, I agree.
So moving for me to move everything off Claude to
Mm.
Grok the other day, it did take me a few hours because I wanted to make sure the paths were transferred thoroughly, and it didn't go, oh, sorry, I missed that one. It took a little while, but it was doable and did it within a day, and I think that's important. So
Okay, no, that's see there, I see exactly. I'm learning something there because I've been curious about it. So I think do you have a little share screen at the bottom button at
I
the bottom of your
do.
screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'm
So,
looking forward to seeing this
what will I share?
wonderful machine that
Okay.
is. And by the way, for anybody watching this, I mean, Jo gets an ROI for her clients on a regular basis that is just mind blowing, right? Like, I mean, she has obviously. I don't want to misstate anything, Jo, but I know that in numerous cases you've you've been well over 10% ROI with some clients. Your success, your ability
It's really
to achieve
important,
driven results, that where that you're able to measure, and that is one cool thing I have to say. You said something at the top of this about how marketing is always kind of a cutting edge type of technology, a canary in the coal mine when it comes to technology, and it's always the kind of industry where you have to stay on top of trends or sink and fall behind. And you obviously you understand that. So look at this dashboard. Holy moly.
So this is Paperclip, just for somewhere to start. So this is what I'm using. I do have, I'll share this tab instead just quickly. This is a little ops hub I built. Can you see that one?
Yep.
Okay, so my agent built this for me. I have some bulk hosting on SiteGround. And so it just lets me, add a little task up here. It's a very basic thing, but for me working alone, this is all I need. This is what I've got on these days, So that was I used to like Monday.com and things like that, but don't need that. I kind of don't need that, but it's still my personal list. This dashboard gets a little bit busy and loud sometimes.
Sure.
So at the moment, it's a little bit quiet because on a Thursday, we've done most of our work for the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are full on for us. And then Friday's sort of reporting. So a tasks layer.
Got it.
It just shows, things, as you can see, it's a bit quiet this morning until I get going.
Oh,
The blocked one is because I told it I wanted a holiday this week because I'm doing the basic work and then I'm outside oiling our decks. It takes us about 6 days full time. So I'm having a family week.
There you go.
So they're not broken. I just said no.
Fair enough.
And then on the left, there's on the
ahead.
backlog, you'll see there's a lot of tasks called skill drills. And that's a guy on X who runs an agency said, point your agent at these skills and see how they are. And I went, okay, well, let's test ourselves. So that's just sitting there until I'm ready to run those in a heap of aspects just to benchmark ourselves.
Okay.
So as far as the org, this is a very flat org. You can see I've got one agent at the top that they all report to, Hermione, and she's in my Telegram.
Okay, she's magic.
Yeah, she's good at, and so I have basically I have agents that what I've found, the reason I have so many agents is that giving them one job means that they consistently perform better. If I've got two that are fairly multifunctional agents, but by keeping them with just their tools and their prompts and they know their thing, they don't forget to go and look for the skill or forget how they're supposed to access a client's website and do it the other way, and start hammering. So I just find that's a better way to do things. So, for instance, I've got Walter. He's named after Walter Isaacson, who writes all those great big biographies. He used to edit Time magazine. He's good at detail. So,
right. Okay. I love how you've given these. I love how you've given these sort of real people names and sort of associated with their task. That's hilarious.
I kind of need to. It keeps my brain. If I just call them Agent One, I will tune out. And
this is fantastic.
Yeah,
this is fantastic.
So Walter Festival will do like the strategic research. So he's in Google Search Console and Google Analytics and keywords everywhere and competitor analysis, and we'll look at what clusters, what people are asking on topics to help each brand get found, and also to inform the blog writing agent on what topic to run on, and the social media post agent to tie that in and make posts to the blog and post to the products and do all the things. So it sort of starts with, as we do in a human way, start with the strategy and the research. Where are we? What do we need to do to move this brand forward? and then the content output happens from there. About a month ago, I built Gabrielle, who she was just putting ads into draft in Facebook's business manager.
Okay.
For Facebook and Instagram, but she's choosing the topics, she's choosing the products, resizing the images, writing the ads, building them, and she's optimizing and reporting back now. And she's doing very well.
And she's integrated with the Facebook Ads Manager, or so she can just go in and actually put the transfer the content over.
She builds them in Facebook Ad Manager. Yep.
Directly within. Gotcha.
Yep. I'll show you some of her ads.
Cool.
I'll just grab the tab. So you can see the return on ad spend. I'll just get through. Hang on. Let me pull the tab up.
Wow.
And I'll pull it up.
Slick.
I'll pull it up maximum just so we can get a fair read on return on ad spend.
There we go.
Okay, you can see the Ads Manager tab now?
Yep.
So Sherwood print video we just put up yesterday. CJ Star hoodie went up a couple of days ago. So you can see the return on ad spend on this is 12.74.
Yeah.
I didn't write this. I didn't choose the product. I didn't write the ad.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting.
I didn't choose.
Yeah.
I didn't choose the blog topic. I used to be very precious about writing blogs, as you can imagine, and it was the biggest hit to my ego to train an agent to do it for me. And we've put a list of AI tells in that has to pass a quality gate before it's allowed to publish. I could look at it and go, yes, I could write a better blog. But when a blog is written automatically and an agent then publishes that blog post for the client, and then another agent takes that blog and builds an ad and runs traffic to it, and we're getting 10.3 times return on ad spend. My goal that I gave it, I used to get 7 times return easily. Wow. So I said, okay, you got to play beat the control. I want you to beat 7 on these blog posts. And it is. Now, compare this to Facebook's own algorithm AI, which I have tested many times, and it was so bad that I've written a blog post on how easily we beat it. And to the point where I don't take calls from meter reps telling me what to do unless they want to pay the ad spend for the experiment, because they lose money for my clients every time. What we were doing was always better than their AI.
Right.
So I was a little bit nervous to build out AI agents in an ad account and see how it goes. But I think when it's so well trained on the client brand, it's you can see doing well. The Alexis Kimono. Okay. This is maximum. That was mine. You can see there's some quiet ones there.
Right. No, I mean, I can see. I should have mentioned that right off the top when I said, Joe and I met close to a decade ago. It was through a fairly sort of intensive Facebook advertising training program. We were both sort of in that spot of our career where we said, okay, hey, we've got to get a handle on the social media stuff. And so we happened to be registered in the program at the same time. So I happen to know Joe has has the same training that I do in Facebook advertising. I sort of gave it up several years ago. You've continued to do it. So you have experience now that I'm so far behind on, because the platform and the algorithm and all these things change, and it's a real, you got to do what you're doing right here and getting in and looking at the numbers and so on. But the fact that,
so to compare, the ones that you can see now on the screen, from this one down, I wrote those. Okay. So you can see, yes, I got 7 return and 9.66 on this one. I had to turn it off when the promo ended. I was doing okay. Like they say, anything over 3 in the industry is good.
Right.
That's right. I try to aim for 5 overall, but those ads were okay. The client was happy, making money, doing well. But you can see those numbers are sort of 4, 5, 6,
Right. Yeah.
Maybe a 7 and a 9 if I had a good week. But now we come up here. That Regina part, that ad there was not my agent. That was just an influencer promo. And this was not my agent. But you can see they're starting to be very good. If I go in the last
10 and
7
12,
days,
yeah, sure. I mean, geez, that's incredible.
So 13, last 7 days, it's done 13 and 6 on these two, and then these two are just
fantastic. These are fantastic numbers.
I just bring it forward one more. I'm getting nerdy now. I don't need to do this to make my point.
Well, I mean, I think this is go ahead.
anyway, so I did not build any of those ads, and they are working quite well.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, 12 point. Was that 7? I'm seeing there. Yeah, 12. Oh, wow.
6.76, 12.7. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So,
That's incredible, Joe. And
yeah, so it's nice.
yeah, and I agree with you. Look, you know, if the AI, who cares? You know, whether I think the whole argument about, you know, hey, but this was written with AI and therefore somehow that's cheating. No, I think
It's
you
making
said it.
money. We don't care.
Well, right. It's if it's doing the job well, why do you care? Two, I think it's just sort of a silly argument. I think what you set up at the top of this about how AI is just a tool. And so it's the
Yes.
same thing. It's that, to me, like, complaining about that is kind of like, you know, somebody who's finger painted all of their lives and then getting all upset because somebody came around and invented the brush and is now, you know, making different, perhaps better paintings than what they were doing with their fingers, and they're upset about that. It's like, no, look, if it's effective, I think there's so much actually that is kind of instructive for anyone watching this, because one, that just goes to this all goes to show that, you know, there's it takes someone with experience in order to know, well, this is what I think should be optimized for. These are my priorities. These are the thresholds. These are the whatever. You can't. There's a funny phenomenon where you know, the some people sort of think, okay, younger generation is adopting AI quicker and faster than, but the thing is that it's the older generation that has the experience to know when to question the AI. Like, the people who are using it actually, oddly, ironically, trust it less, and that suspicion is actually a strength, because it happens
Yes.
all the time with AI, where it'll come back with a confident answer, and then I'll say, no, you're not considering this. Oh, you're right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, it's always so flattering, right? I mean, it used to be worse. It used to be like, that's brilliant. You know, and it's like, and now it's just simply like, your point about this is, and it's not worth understating. It just goes. The AI is so funny. But yeah, if that's working for you, then why wouldn't you? And it's saving you time. I think that's really cool how you've got that automated.
I mean, it took a long time to build out. I had to first teach it. You know, I tend to use the pain, agitate, solution method of copywriting. So if you're listening and you want to know how to do copywriting, that will probably work quite easily, look that up and use it. But then also giving it styles of what looks good. It's better for the agents not to don't start a big list of don't do this and don't do this and don't do this, because it just gets messy. I think we're frozen on internet.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I'm seeing a poor connection. You're not. You're actually. You've been going smoothly on my end. I see you moving. Do you hear me? Do you see me?
Oh, okay. You're frozen, but
I
see how
froze
that
on your
goes.
end.
I've
Yeah.
got you back now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and then after
Go.
I taught it the structure, I show it what good looks like with examples of good writing in that voice. And then I show it what, you know, images work well. Don't just pull this, because it starts to see what underperforms. And then you let it rip. So you don't just say, write me an ad for this product, because then you're going to have the garbage in, garbage out problem. Shopify have released, which is a great idea, a tool where you can literally give it your budget and say, go run me ads in your system. They're promising a 2.5. It said 2.5 to 5 times return when we put it in on one client to test it. And I thought, well, hang on, we're getting more than that with my agents running it. So again, it's training it properly. You're going to get another level of results out of it, not just settling for the ordinary.
Right. And I think part of what, you know, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is what I as well sort of consider a best practice, right? You're not trying to create one super bot. You are trying to create individual agents that do one job really, really well. And I think it's probably important to maybe kind of clarify a bit when we talk about agentic, you know, and it's an agent, right? Because I think if I understand correctly, right, you've programmed these to operate on a sort of timed basis, right? In other words, this.
For a lot of jobs, we do one-off jobs every day, but there's an undercurrent of work that does happen on schedule. Yeah.
Okay, but precisely that it's not as though you have some bot that's gets up at some time, goes around, makes a few phone calls, is free to kind of roam anywhere it wants on the internet.
Actually, I do.
Oh, okay.
I have two.
Okay, so well, there you go. Okay, so but I think this is the distinction that's worth making. In other words, in other words, what you're saying is you've got two genuinely agentic bots, and then you have a bunch of AI process sequencers, right? Workhorses, right? And I think it's important for people to make that distinction, right? So maybe you want to tell me a bit about your actual agentic stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not as far as some people are. I know that Catherine, she owns Best Self Journal. She and her wife got accepted into Y Combinator. They've got kids. Her agent literally it doesn't spend the money, but it will make the bookings for the Airbnb for her, or bring her the short list and help her remember which school notes need to be done, and give her that brief every morning and keep her on track to pay the gas bill. But it'll go and research all of that for her and make the move simple, household agents, fantastic. So I have Rory is one of my agents who every night goes through my Obsidian Vault, which is our library, wherever you keep your stuff that your agents need to refer to. And also I've got a folder where I just dump ideas into a dozen times a day. Now, you can imagine how that would just pile up if you just dumped ideas into any drive anywhere. You'd never look at them again. And we all know what that's like. So every night he's mooching through and cataloging and tagging and coming up with ideas that might suit our clients or my agency, and saying, here's what I started to build. This was all done. So I picked this, or well, how about we do this, and it's fantastic. It's lovely. And then Hermione's doing a similar thing with just the ops as well. I've also just yesterday hooked her up to a Bybit sub account and told her to go and learn about retail trading. And I gave her $100,
Right. Okay.
But I thought, okay, let's have a play with that too.
Let's play with it.
But then also they're monitoring the health of. Actually, no, this isn't agentic. This is a Python script. 2,000 products every night for a client, where she puts products in draft and back when they're in and out of stock, and the URLs break, and you get all the broken links and thin product descriptions and things. So it's monitoring that every night and fixing them all, which is wonderful. So yeah, agentic stuff. There's a lot more I could be doing. Jessie Gennett is a woman who's homeschooling a bunch of kids. She's always got a baby in a carrier, so she says she's got no hands free. So she's got a bunch of Mac Minis, and she's given her agents her Amazon account, their own sort of temporary, you can spin up a credit card and a budget. And she's letting them spend money and order her groceries. And so, I don't need to do that. It's just me and my partner, and I don't go out much through the week except to buy food. So, so I don't tend to want to automate that. But I could see so much potential there for agentic stuff that I'm not taking advantage of. That was the long answer.
Well, actually,
There's so much more possibility.
I think you're actually probably doing more than I am in that regard. Most of my stuff is that I'm working on are exactly small sort of programmed modules that perform one particular task very well. And I think I think what you're doing is fantastic and amazing. I mean, first of all, I think the spirit of just simply saying, look, this is a workflow and a process that works for me. Here's how I want to start with a little simple dashboard that you have there, and then it's very clean, very neat, and you're like, oh, it gets a little messy, but obviously, you want to start from that one clean, organized place. That's how you work. So you built the tool that fits your flow, and I think that's
and I hooked it up to my phone, and it's wicked. I can literally be in bed paper clipping my agents and giving them jobs now, and it's
giving them jobs,
and projects.
And I mean, I imagine how. So you kind of talked about this already. I mean, exactly, like the efficiency gains, right? When that just keep on compounding from all of this.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I mean, you have certain moments where one little thing that you do is different, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's a massive, that's going to save me days, or that'll save a few
You
hours
know
or
what's
minutes.
confronting? What's
Tell me.
confronting is when I look at the inbox in my Obsidian, I was getting daily reports from all of them, and I was scanning them, SEO and product reviews and blog publishers and this and that, and there'd be like a dozen every day that I'd scan and then archive, which when you're building trust in the system you've built, you've got to check them. So
Sure.
that was fine. But it got to the point where I thought, I'm spending how much of my life scanning, just quickly looking over these and archiving them. They're all fine. So I just complained to Rory, it's the best way to train your agents to have a whinge. And I said, I don't need all this noise in my inbox. This is ridiculous. Can you fix it? And he said, right. So he's just like, now it's only if there's a problem, they let me know. And so the thing is, though, I realized I used to love watching his little build reports and things that he was building. And now I looked at my inbox and there was nothing there and I wasn't needed. That was emotionally confronting. I'm not joking. We talk about keeping busy and feeling needed, and we don't really pay attention to how powerful that pull is on us.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I thought, okay, the promise of tech is to give us our life back. The promise of tech, the promise of getting washing machines and dishwashers and vacuum, and yet women are still busy doing, and men.
And we always get more busy. We always get busier. Yeah, we always keep getting busier.
They're still busy doing housework. So we're supposed to get our lives back. So I went, okay, I'm going to take it up on its promise. I'm going outside. That's when I thought I'm going to go on all the decks this week and just check the basics are running. And it's confronting. It's really confronting when I have a million ideas tumbling through my head. Yes, I could build more. Of course I could. I could sit here all day and build more projects, build out little apps and businesses, and not short of ideas. But I deliberately thought, no, I'm going to stop for a minute and go outside for a few days. And it's magic. Yeah, right. It's just magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're touching on so many things that I've been experiencing along the way with, working with AI, in the marketing industry as well. One is precisely that it forces you to rethink everything. I think the fact that you're diving in, and the fact that you're having this sort of evolution with it, right? Which is again a very common sort of experience where a person is kind of like, oh, I'm a little intimidated by this, but and then once you get going, you get a little momentum, you get a little better, you start understanding it better. I think it captures one thing that I absolutely believe, which is, for the most part, the AI gets you 90% there. But you can never just say, hey, create. You can't go and tell AI, well, go build me a successful marketing agency, right? It can't do that.
Not yet.
Not yet. It needs our input. And then I guess the final one, and this is, I think, just a good question for anyone and everyone, is what that moment of that confronted you that you're talking about. I think we're all we are all facing that particular issue at some level at some point in time. If we are headed towards a place where the AI and the robots are going to do every single job better than a person, well, what will people do? How will people find meaning? And you're hinting at something that is basically, I think, a very important observation, which is that we are meaning-seeking animals. We actually, I think, seek meaning above wealth or profit. I mean, yes, it's nice to make money, and yes, we need to eat. But perhaps we are moving in this direction where, universal basic income is the only solution, and the means of production are so cost effective that you do have this massive sort of deflationary impact, and the robots are doing everything, and now there's nothing left for people to do. How do we achieve a sense of meaning and purpose? So I understand what you're coming from when you say, hey, wait a minute, I've created a system and now I'm not even needed today. I feel left out. What is my point in life? But you built the system, right? And that itself, I think, I mean, isn't that experience, isn't there something about that that's kind of invigorating?
Oh, it has been very exciting, the whole process of learning how to do this. And I've certainly spent many days or thinking I'll just fix this thing.
Right.
And suddenly it's 2 a.m. and I'm a mess for the next few days because I've been with
Yeah.
my
Oh, I've
sleep.
had many of
So I've
those.
definitely, it's taken, as I say, from January to probably last week,
Yeah.
um, like a fire hose, like I'm talking constant
Yeah.
learning for me because, as you say, I'm not a coder. And yet, with AI's walkthrough, I was building connections for my agents into Klaviyo and Shopify and WordPress before they put the MCPs out. They're supposed to make it easy. So, and which I haven't moved to. I've just kept my bespoke ones. And it's let them do an awful lot of stuff for my clients that I didn't know how to do. We had, for instance, one plugin we were using for one of my Shopify clients was $99 a month, and we've been able to remove that plugin. So it's saved her $1,200 a year. And now I haven't charged her extra for this because I'm like enjoying having something to learn to build on.
Yeah.
And she's benefited from that. But yeah, $1,200 a year, just saved, just like that.
Just gone.
And like you've done, like with Studio J, you've got these modules where people can just buy the core, build the modules that suit them, and be free from that subscription tyranny, which I think is a huge theme that I think people need to think about more. I'm running away from the meaning here. The way I deal with the meaning, I've thought about it a lot. I still am. I think before the Industrial Revolution, we didn't go to a 9 to 5 every day. We lived differently.
That's right.
We may not need to grow our food, so I don't know how that all works out, but we did live differently. And I think if we can take our brains out of the box of thinking about our modern life and realize that we still matter, how is it that we find that meaning? Who are we? What matters to us when we don't have to perform in a cubicle?
Right.
It's actually wonderful. I mean, most people don't like their jobs. I'm lucky in that I like my job.
Right.
A lot of people don't. It's drudgery. And everyone says, oh, but how are they going to enjoy life without their jobs and find their identity? Well, they might find something nicer to do. They can go surfing. I don't know.
Yeah, they might find a hobby that they enjoy. Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
I understand we need a challenge. We need a point to something to strive for still, I think.
I think you're right.
So
I think that's true. And I think that's these are all questions that the AI and the robotics sort of are forcing us to consider, and what gives. And I think that I don't think there's a one single answer, right? I mean, I think that's going to be very much on an individual basis, and what gives things, people achieve meaning in different ways, and it's very sort of individual how they do that. But I think collectively, that is a good choice, and I hope you're right. I hope that more and more people end up exactly that, where they're like, oh well, this liberates me from having to do this job or this work. This gives me more time in my life, and now I can go and enjoy this hobby or enjoy this activity or just enjoy my family or my friends or whatever. I agree that if this, and in some ways, I mean, that is what we're kind of talking about, where this is heading, is that if you've got a whole bunch of robots and they do what we say, well, what you're talking about is a form of ethical slavery. Well, so yeah, okay, well, having a bunch of slaves to do, to dote on you, yeah, that's pretty good living.
So many issues. That's right. I mean, we all whinge that we haven't got time to do this, that, or the other.
Yeah. I mean, that's
so
the
don't
historic
complain
pattern.
when you get time to do this, that, or the other. Don't whinge about it.
Yeah, exactly. There's that's the one thing that we all have the same amount of is time, and I think it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of the same sort of issues with you, like. I'll, all of a sudden I'm like, well, I want this to work this very specific way, and next thing you know, it's 3 a.m, and I've been actually working, probably more than the problem I've solved. And then the thing works, and now I'm addicted to playing with my new toy, and just seeing what can it do? Oh, well, maybe, and then tweaking it, and it just goes on and on and on. But I think there's a huge value. I mean, what we're talking about in some ways is this potential future where there really is, we ourselves don't have any value to add. At the moment, we do. We have our experience. We have a lot of insights that we're able to bring and guide and train the agents, as you're saying. But we're talking about some future where maybe we'll be wiped out. But I think the process, the journey of doing this, understanding it, what is the AI doing, learning how to work with it, observing how it improves over time, what it gets better. Hey, wait a minute, last week you couldn't do that. Now you're doing that. That's cool. Okay. Well, that means we can do this. I have never felt this, like, experienced my own, let's say, neuroplasticity more than I have now. Like you mean, when if you sign up for a little program, like, let's say, I'm thinking like when I went to Music Technique and did sound and design and studio engineering, I loved the program. I was engaged with it. I was really excited, and you get this little kind of high or rush from learning. Well, this is that times 100. It's just like every day, sometimes my massive strategic pivots happen within a day. Like, oh, hold on,
Yep.
my priority was this for the last 2 weeks, and now I'm completely shifting and I'm going here. And that's happening on a regular basis. But like you, I enjoy what I do, and I'm having fun. I'm loving this.
It is. I'm helping my my niece set up an agent for my brother's solar business this week, and we're 1,200 kilometers away from each other. And he's bought a Mac Mini, and of course I use Windows, so I've had to go, what's the equivalent to a Windows scheduled task? How are we going to do this? So Hermes agent is just fantastic. She's downloaded that. She's got it connected to Grok. I've put my agent with her in a Telegram group so she can ask my agent questions because it knows about my system if I'm not around to answer, to keep her moving. And we'll meet again on Friday and actually start to really give it its soul and train it on the workflows that we'll do some test workflows and see what annoys her and what we can free up, So that's really fun. Just looking at it in a different business setting. And working out what's going to help them. But she sent me a message. She said, "Oh, it's scary smart, isn't it?" she's just doing the startup,
I mean, yeah. I think I don't think people realize just how, let's say, like, in fact, in the industry, I think how dangerous someone like you was becoming, right? Because of the fact that you're building a system for you. You're not selling it to people are coming to you, yeah. and that's how they get access to your system. Right. Mine is kind of I'm creating this little machine and then selling it. It's like, buy it once. You don't owe me anything from after that. You're on your own. And I'm sort of giving my code to the world kind of a thing, whereas you're like building your own secret weapons. And there's a lot of people exactly doing what you're doing, which is like, hey, I'm going to build my own little secret weapon. And
I've been really hesitant to sell it because I wasn't sure when you set it up, and obviously some things do break, just managing people's expectations of what they think it's going to be able to do. And also the training of it is so, it becomes an intimate process. It sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it? But it really does. Like you have to know a customer, their fears well to write for them so that they want the product you're selling. But getting to know the business processes, what really matters, what is non-negotiable, you can't afford to have it break, what you can play on, what will save the owner time. And just feeding it the right diet, I think, is really important to continue to improve it. It's not just a set and forget thing. So I haven't known how to sell that for people and how to I don't know how to price that really. I've sort of kick around the idea, but you're right. Selling it I'm enjoying setting it up for my brother. I really enjoyed setting it up for my own clients, and it's saved them massive. One client's in an industry that requires a lot of compliance, and there was a job that was going to take them probably 2 months manually, and we did it in an evening. They were so relieved.
And just so I understand, are you saying that that's an additional, let's say, service that you're offering for people where you come in, you set this system up for them, and then they're basically on their own to invest in their like just do whatever ad spend they want, or no, you're still managing the
Look,
campaigns.
I could, but I think you'd want to be still checking in
You still
and
want a
tweaking
guide.
with them, because I just don't. I don't know how to explain what I do enough in a way.
Well,
It sounds arrogant, doesn't it?
No.
say that's
It's
what you do as
consistent
well,
with what
but
I'm saying, which is that as a general rule, the AI gets you 90% there. It still needs
it's true.
us. And
It's
to
true.
your earlier point, there's no point in any system that doesn't revolve around us. If it doesn't serve us, it won't. Then what's its point? And it'll
Mm.
die off the vine, as far as I'm concerned. So the idea that AI will just sort of replace us and we're irrelevant, it's like, no, this was all engineered to serve us. And when a technology no longer serves us, or a new one serves people better, then it takes over it, or it disappears if it's no longer serving us. But we're kind of jumping around a whole bunch of subjects here, but I think you're right that there isn't really one totally, oh, this is good and it's good for life, and you never have to touch it, you never have to ask it another question. It's just going to come in, it's going to sort everything and put out output that's perfectly and give you a consistent 10x, every time, never touch it again. You're right, these things take constant tweaking. What you're saying about the complexity of what marketing is, because it is a very sort of umbrella department on any business that touches a lot of areas. It's not just advertising, as some people tend to kind of just associate it with. Like, no, it's in product development, tone, messaging. There's so many aspects to marketing that exactly it is complex. And this is, as I'm sort of saying, for anybody who's older and feeling like they're being siphoned out of society. It's like, no, your experience is actually the thing that the AI doesn't have. You've got the thing that it needs. You've got all that experience, judgment.
2 points on that. I think if people listening are still just typing into a language model and getting an answer, please hear me when I say there is a whole world you're missing that you could access right now, even if you don't know how to code. You could build yourself a custom agent system that can really open up a lot in your life, and it's very exciting depending on what you want to do. The other thing, and I've just lost my train of thought. It felt important a moment ago. But anyway, I'm
sure it's going to come back to you.
We don't know where it's going to take us.
No, that's right.
I think in the meantime, look at what you've got, what you want to fix in your life. This sounds really religious, doesn't it? But see what you can do with AI past just those chat boxes. Build something that you own, that you're not tied down with, and just do it. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, look, I agree with sort of, I think another way to maybe where you were going with this was that, there's because this sort of this part of the conversation stems from, again, like, the concern that some people might have of, AI is making me irrelevant. And there's obviously there is a mindset difference in terms of somebody who's worried about that versus someone like yourself who is enthusiastically replacing yourself. Right? You are building, you're saying, hold on. So this is what my process is. I would go from A to B, B to C, C to D. This is what it is. Okay. That's tedious. Now do this for me, and build a system and connect those dots. And so one, as you pointed out, at the beginning of this, you didn't know, you never coded. But the wonderful thing about AI is, and I am somebody who has been, let's say, programming and coding since 2002, but I never said I was a top programmer. I've actually mostly, I've worn every hat in an agency. That's sort of my strength, right? Is that I've been, but a lot of it's project management, account management when I've actually worked for agencies. The programmers, those guys were way ahead of me on programming. There are graphic designers who were way ahead of me on Photoshop. There are videographers who are way ahead of me on film production. I have a jack of all trades kind of experience. I've been in front of the camera, behind the camera, editing, doing the code. The AI was the gap filler. It was the thing where it was like, I can't. Okay, it's like, yeah, I'm good with HTML and a bit of PHP and this. I love JavaScript. I wish I could write in JavaScript, but I can't. I don't know it. Well, now it's like, aha, and so having the vision, having the like, hey, I know how this works. Or this is how I want it to work. And then having the mindset and the attitude to say, okay, I'm going to start here. And I think you're right. Anybody can go into Claude Code right now. Here's how I would say, if you're like, I've never coded a thing in my life, and just think of exactly what you said at a second ago, right? Like, find one little thing that's a repetitive task that would be nice if you had a little tool, and say, build me a tool that I can run off my desktop, a little HTML local file that will do these things for me, and see what it spits out. It might actually build you the tool that you just asked for entirely, based on your intentions and objectives, or based on just the user interface and experience that you're asking for. And if there's something that it's like, well, we would need to do this and we would need to do that, you can just say, okay, how would we do that? And figure it out. And I think hopefully people watching and hearing what you just said about, some of the opportunities, is that exactly, just dive in, and all of a sudden somehow it starts to become fun.
It does. I found Sailor University. They're offering a whole bunch of university courses for free, which is fantastic. So I've started the CS Computer Science 101, thinking I might try and learn some code so that I could see if my agent's bullshitting me.
Right.
First of all, I'm realizing that it's going to take me a long time to learn code, and I have no clue. And there's also that tension that I really don't need to, because the agent just goes and fixes it. And even the difference now from a month ago with the quality they do and the less revisions they need, I don't really need to be learning it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking there are some platforms coming out. There's Pulsia and one starting with Orgo, where they'll spin up an agent like in a minute online, connect it to a bunch of things, and they're really quick. Pulsio actually says it'll spin up a business for you it'll give you ideas if you don't have any to go and run that business for you. Obviously, you've still got to give it ad budget on top of your fee and all the things. He's raised a lot of money. I don't know how well it's going, but when I listened to his podcast on how he's built Pulsia, Ben, somebody I think, I realized I've actually built it, like with not just some blonde chick in backwater town who doesn't know coding, saying to AI, how do you do this? How do you do this? And just seeing ideas from people on X who are at the forefront of their field, not understanding their language or even talking half the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes just giving that to my agent and saying, can you tell me what this is? Or can you tell me if we need it? And it goes, no, you've half built it already and we don't need that,
I'm getting a lot of that.
So,
I'm getting a lot of that. Like, hey, I see, what's this business or what are these guys are doing? And it'll come back to me because it has the context of the Studio J folder, and say, but actually you've already done that because da, 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 da. So,
and that's what I would do with Studio J. I'd probably put a Hermes agent on it and buy the core, run it, and then just have it build out and tailor it, which would be done in a heartbeat. Obviously, it's just what you're building with Studio J is excellent for people just to get a start.
Well, we should
their own ops management.
Well, we should certainly take this conversation offline a bit, because I have gotten across a couple of exciting milestones. One was that we've moved away from the 4-tier bundles, and now it's a build your own bundle, which I think is both a much better user experience, because that lets you only buy the tools that you think you're going to use. And then from our perspective, it's infinitely easier, because now I'm only really maintaining one core platform. And then the modules, they're just sort of in their own little folder that this thing goes and generates. And what's kind of exciting and was funny about all of that was that, so I finished that bundle builder, and it was working fantastically. And so the next step because I have a working sort of master plan that gets updated almost on a daily basis in terms of what my status is and what's changed. And so the next intuitive thing was that, because I've been wanting to get Studio J to a point where it's codeless, and for the real sort of Luddite who just doesn't want to customize anything, let's get it to that point, and a hosted solution. So even though it's kind of anti-SaaS, you could go a SaaS option if that's what you wanted. But all of a sudden, what occurred to me was something that was on the shelf was, hey, all the components of a reseller program are here in some shape or form. We just haven't connected the dots this way. Like, in other words, like it has a licensing system already. So, hey, I don't need to create a token exchange for a reseller program. Just use the existing license key. So there was nothing new to actually build. And all of a sudden it was like, hey, that opens it up, and that lets me stay focused on the developer community and create opportunities for them where they can now resell the product itself. And so not just go and build and customize for clients as a service, but then make money on the actual product itself. So it's sort of a win-win for developers and people who want to use the tool. But I think there's so many opportunities at some point because of the fact that exactly that. I've always thought that the real gold is in the module ecosystem. And
so the modules that you've got with Studio J are a really good visual way for people to organize themselves. Mine are, I guess the correlation is in my Obsidian Vault, I've got folders, but yours is, prettier and more user-friendly and just easier for people to get their brains around what they're doing when. I'm thinking there'd be a lot of parallels with your journey with Studio J between a guy called Nevo who built Post-its with a Z, Postoz. Have you seen his work?
No, I have not.
So it's a social media scheduler. Now, on my little Ops Hub, I was going to build my own, and I got so fed up with the connection process for all of the platforms. Some are easy and some take weeks for approval, and they're just a pest. And I didn't want to pay for big social media things. They all annoy me and they're all a bit limited. Anyway, I discovered Post-its through the bro community who are using it for their agents and TikToks. It's very agent friendly. It connects to a bunch of platforms, more than anything I've seen before. And he actually has it as open source. You can host it yourself for free. And then the way he's made his business model is there is also a hosted version, which I've ended up paying for because when I looked at the open source hosted version, I couldn't be bothered setting it up.
Right.
So he's making, so I heard about him on X. I heard people using it. Oliver Henry does a great job with his agent, Larry, and he's building TikTok carousels automatically and selling his Larry brain skill or giving it away or something. So I heard of Post-its that way. And because it's open source, people write about it a lot. They write how-to guides and things. So that gave him publicity. And also he would charge companies to go and build it in the open source for them in there, but charge for his time. But then also the subscriptions, he's nearly at $2 million annual revenue now. He's very close to it. Every day he's getting very excited. He went through a bit of a lost period.
Okay.
But when I think of what you're doing with Studio J and the fact that it is, you can buy it once and host it yourself, or you may have a hosted version or the reseller version. I don't do affiliates much because I don't have a big audience and I'm not very good at selling stuff myself, to be honest. I'm better at selling it for other clients. But I have got a Post-its affiliate because I love the product so much. I thought, well, the least I can do is throw it in the description of my own podcast and see if anybody wants to use it,
Right. Well, I do think...
yeah, your business model you'd be useful. He does a lot of
good fit.
clips on how he's built his business. So go and have a look at Nevo.
I'll definitely go check that out because that sounds very interesting. And as a general rule, that's one of the things that I'm kind of enjoying is the fact that I don't really feel like, even if I see somebody who's saying like, oh, hey, I'm building my own operating system and it sounds like what I've done, I've gotten to a point where it's like I'm not really worried or threatened by anyone. For a lot of reasons, and that one, in fact, I realize that, that's it's still actually a very small percentage of people who are using AI to build software or build their own tools like you and I are doing. For sure, I think we are ahead of the wide use adoption, which is standard for marketers, as we talked about earlier, it being a canary in the coal mine. You kind of have to be aware and stay on the cutting edge. But I think it's really interesting with what you were doing or what you're talking about with him, and that's how I tend to see Studio J is with just about anything that anyone is doing. I see it as a potentially, that could be a module. And what I would do if I were you is, and I think I think what we don't have any cases of this yet, but I think where we probably will end up is a case where you have a light version of somebody's product, right? That does a sort of basic version of what you do. Let's say the simple model that okay, this reliably gives me these results. If you start to like it and want to upgrade to our SaaS version, the higher level, it kind of, they embed that into their module, that there's an upgrade or upsell like feature. So people will be able to add their module to the module library and collect in some profit sales from the sales of their module. And then in cases where it's like, okay, this actually, here's what we could fit into a Studio J module. This can expand more when you reach to that level. Here's the button to come and talk to us, right? And so I do see an ability with it to connect with all these other cool little things. I met somebody the other day doing a really good content management system. It was just, she understands content management and built her own flow. So there's a lot going on, clearly, and I think there's an opportunity for so many people who are doing this stuff to find synergies and make money. So who knows? I think it's smart for you to, and that's part of that speaks to your professionalism about, your need to look, hey, this thing does need some babysitting. I do want to still keep on top of it. I want to make sure that it works. I don't want to just go and sell this to people and then have them not do the thing that it can't, not, to reach its potential with it. And I don't know that I want to it's like, well, I'm going to have to turn all these users into marketers, and I don't know that I want to train them all, right?
Look, if they'd have to, I don't mind, but they'd have to have someone on their team who's willing to learn how to drive the thing. In that case, I will train them, but yes, I just haven't figured out how to structure that. But I just keep thinking your Studio J modules are, I think the way I imagine it, and tell me if I'm wrong, but each module would be in effect a particular agent with its set of skills and tools and prompts bundled into that module.
Yep.
So it knows exactly what it needs to do for that workflow in a beautiful user experience, easy way to understand for people who don't want to go down the rabbit hole. And if you can take the coding element away by slapping a Hermes agent on it, even the free models with Nous Research that built Hermes, they've got free models that do a pretty good job of answering setup questions till you've connected your Grok or whatever you're going to connect,
Yeah, right. Well,
it could be interesting for that.
Okay, if you want to start talking experiments, we'll take that offline and we'll start talking some experiments, because it sounds like, what I looked at there, and your results speak for themselves. And I think that, that I'm glad that I got to bring you on and you were able to show that to the audience, because, at the end of the day, I think it's these days, you can't just get away with a good pitch. You've got to show, you've got to deliver, right? It's like, and this is why I do this whole sort of like build in public, and show me what the tool does, kind of a thing, right? And I think it's an opportunity for the guests and for people to give receipts. We can give receipts now. So yeah, let's absolutely talk about that offline. I think we've certainly given this, as always. You and I can just go and go and thrash. But I think we have covered some really great areas, both sort of on the, let's say, the shop level, in terms of the details about what's going on, but also I think in terms of attitudes and experiences and advice. I think there's a lot of takeaways from this session. So, as always, it's a joy, and thank you so much for coming on and being one of my first guests on my new show. Are there any last little messages that you want to send the audience, and where can they connect with you?
Okay, final message sounds dramatic, doesn't it? AI is here whether you like it or not, and like a kitchen knife, it can be used for something good or it can cause a bit of a mess. I say you may as well get in and learn to use it for your advantage. Have fun with it. To find me, McKeeCreative.store is my website, or The Jo Show is my podcast on YouTube. So, yeah.
Yes, listen to that.
I just love catching up with you, Julian. Thanks.
You too. Yes, I will put all the links below. Isn't she wonderful, everybody? Thank you
you're
for
funny.
listening. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
Pleasure.
If you don't know what to do with AI, maybe you should give White Robot a try. Maybe linger, get by free, be
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to give us a like and follow now, you hear?